The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi all, thank you very much for joining us today. It's Matt Gallick here from SoftwareONE. I'm going to hand over to Rory, who's going to be presenting for us today. As discussed, this is around improving the performance of your VMs with VMware vSOM. Rory's going to give us a bit of an overview of the whole software-defined data center, obviously with a focus on the vSOM, so you get a bit of a flavor of all of what VMware are bringing to the table today. So I'm going to pass over to Rory now, and he will share his screen with you, and we'll start to roll through the webinar. So Rory, over to you when you're ready.
Got it. Thank you, Matt. Just checking that everybody can hear me. If you can't, yell at Matt and he'll tell me, I guess. Good morning, everybody. My name is Rory Chowdhury. I am the Product Marketing Director at VMware for our core infrastructure products, which includes vSphere with Operations Management. Matt asked me to pop along, or virtually pop along this morning, and just talk through some of the thoughts around what's happening in the market, how we respond to that, and then where vSphere with Operations Management fits, and then just some bits on why we think it's a tool that you ought to be interested in finding out more about and talking to SoftwareONE about how you progress with it. So in terms of time expectation, I'm guessing that it's probably going to take us somewhere around 30 to 40 minutes just to run through this. Happy to stick around at the end for some questions, or indeed, to follow up later with anything you want to find out from us. So if I just set the scene, in terms of the way IT has changed over time, if you're as old as me, then you go back to the time of the mainframe when we had terminals on our desks, and we felt extremely grateful for them, and were informed by IT that we were to be grateful. And then we moved over time to the kind of client-server environment, and now we're in this described in many different ways. One of the ways we talk about is mobile cloud, where things are changing pretty rapidly. But the one thing that hasn't changed hugely over time is the percentage of the company's revenue or the company's expense that gets allocated to IT budgets. They've tended to remain flat with the blip around the millennium and odd blips here and there, but most of the people I talk to tell me that their budgets are at best flat and in some cases declining. What is good is because technology has changed and because people in IT have got better at delivering things, better at structuring projects, IT is able to deliver more with that flat or declining budget. What isn't so good, of course, is that with the change in the technology that we use, if you're anything like me, then typically the tech you have at home is now, for the first time ever, better than the tech you have at work. The expectation of our users has outstripped our ability to deliver. And particularly in areas of time and agility, we have a particular challenge meeting those kind of expectations, which have been fueled by app stores where pretty much anything you want to do, there's an app for that. And what we hear from customers is we need a self-service infrastructure, yes, so people can go get what they want, but it has to conform to enterprise IT requirements, because compliance and security and everything else most certainly has not gone away. Now, unsurprisingly, VMware's promise is that we have developed a range of technologies, approaches, software products, etc., architectures that help IT to bridge that gap and effectively to deliver that IT at the speed that business wants. And the end goal that we're looking at is that the business starts to innovate because IT makes it possible, which in a strange way goes right back to the early part of when IT came along with the mainframe, and made the difference to automated systems, to accounting systems, to other types of systems. So that's the story behind it. In terms of how we deliver that, we call it a software-defined data center to deliver that agility. And the area that you probably know us from, if you've been with VMware for a while, is virtualizing of compute. So the server infrastructure, most people are comfortable and familiar with the idea of virtualizing their servers in order to deliver virtual service to increase agility and reduce capital expenditure, primarily as the first step. What we want to do now is to extend that and also virtualize the network and change the way we deliver storage, so being able to virtualize storage as well. And I will touch briefly on virtual SAN being an opening into this area towards the end of this presentation. And then, of course, having the three pillars that you build your data center on is great, but what you also must have is the ability to manage it in a policy-driven, automated way. And we define management tools in three broad categories: cloud automation, cloud operations, and cloud business. And what we're talking about today is combining that cloud operations with the compute virtualization. So put that all together and you have the components for your software-defined data center. What does this look like when you create the architecture that is delivered by VMware Technologies? So at the end of the day, what are we doing? We're delivering applications. That's what the business runs on. That's what users are looking for. And they can be traditional apps, which are typically built in either a monolithic fashion or a traditional three-tier fashion. Think in terms of things like Exchange and SharePoint and SAP infrastructures. But also we're seeing the emergence of modern cloud applications, which are built using different frameworks. If you're familiar with the DevOps era, you'll hear things like Puppet and Chef and various other sort of Java frameworks that frankly were strange words to do with catering some time ago. What's important to understand is that from our point of view at VMware, we support all of this and we engineer the technologies into the infrastructure in order to deliver whatever type of application you want. So, whether you wish to consume that from your own private data center, i.e. your own private cloud where you own the infrastructure in your premises in some sort of way, or whether you want to go completely to a public infrastructure and consume infra as a service, it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you should be able to do all of this with the same tools, with the same structure. And we call that a one cloud approach. So it doesn't matter where you happen to locate your workloads. They look the same, they perform the same, you manage them the same, and security and compliance is maintained. And I'll introduce you to a concept of building infrastructure, which we call hyperconverged. If you just think back a few years, we built our infrastructure by buying all the different components and hiring competent folks to knit it all together, to connect the servers to the network and ensure the pathways were correct, to provision the storage and ensure it delivered the needs. Converged infrastructure came along some time ago, things like vBlocks and vShapes and various other types of infrastructure, FlexPods, etc., where some of that integration was done for you. With hyperconverged, we're moving to an appliance-based approach. At the end of the day, what we're looking to do at VMware is to provide choice, so that you deliver this, and consume it however you wish to do so. And then the final element in the puzzle, of course, is how do we actually use this as end users? What is the device we use it on? Most people nowadays carry 2 to 3 different devices most of the time, a tablet, a phone, sometimes 2 phones, a laptop, or some folks still have a traditional desktop. But there are new devices coming on stream, and gratuitously, I've included a picture of a Tesla in case you hadn't recognized it, because they're probably furthest along the way in terms of connecting to data from the car itself. And of course, the one piece that you must always remember is whatever you do with the entire architecture, it of course has to extend and connect to other architectures, other clouds, other infrastructures, etc. So bringing that together, what we're talking about here is the software-defined data center approach, which we believe to be the ideal architecture for a hybrid cloud. And how does that kind of look in terms of what does it deliver? So that, we've talked about what's the architecture in terms of how you build it up, but in terms of the why and what you're going to get from it, and why would you want to do this? Well, really what you're looking to do is address that challenge of speed and agility, to be able to deliver services at the rate that your users, the consumers of those services are asking for it, to be able to do all of that while still maintaining security in the face of an increasing level of threat. I don't need to remind you of all the various headlines that go up there, and we probably hear of only a small fraction of them. But at the end of the day, you've got to be able to do this with efficiency and with control, so that you aren't giving up the control of your own IT infrastructure. And of course, what we're very strongly in favor of is that you have choice of where you place your applications, how you access them. So this kind of architectural approach provides an opportunity for IT to change how we're doing things today, to be able to provide these solutions at the speed that the business is operating, and to move away from always being at the effect of requests that we're scrambling to provision or scrambling to respond to go back to the days of saying, right, you know, here's a change in how we do stuff, and here's a change in how we're going to provide opportunities to the rest of the business and become that strategic partner again. The challenge that all of this provides, however, is that we find the volume of data that we need to monitor in the infrastructure is absolutely exploding. We're seeing, you know, a massive increase in the amount of metrics and the amount of data that we see. Conservative estimates indicate that, you know, you're going to see 50 to 50% more data year on year, certainly for the next 4 to 5 years, and probably beyond that. And we've got to find a way of A, managing that data, and B, being able to understand, you know, what it's telling us and how we need to manage the infrastructure. So today's reality in terms of operations management, you know, what we're seeing is that for operations management to achieve the kind of SLAs that we're being asked to do, you know, efficiency and control is a tough job doing that. The tools you use today, some of them don't really make it that easy to manage the environment. There's too much data. There are too many alerts, and frankly, that can sometimes lead to a bunch of fire drills, and then, you know, you get each of the teams in the infrastructure environment pointing fingers at the other, trying to figure out where things are. And all too often, what you have is the end user telling us that the application isn't working, and that's something that we you know, we find out because the end user is telling us about it rather than because our monitoring tools are telling us. In the physical world, what we tend to do is over-provision. You know, we over-provision because experience tells us that when you have enough resources, there aren't going to be any problems. Well, that's okay, but when you apply that to a virtualized environment, what happens is you negate the whole benefits of virtualization and of server consolidation in the first place. So let's look at what are the 5 areas of operation analytics that we need to consider. And in order to get rid of the challenges that we've just been talking about, you know, monitoring overlays and finger pointing, etc., what we need is a set of tools that are going to be targeted for specific areas. There need to be tools to manage each of these 5 pillars. So log management, capacity management, configuration management, etc. And you do have a lot of options to choose virtualization management tools. We're, you know, well aware of that. But what really moves the needle is this. You need comprehensive operational analytics that learn from the environment and continue to adjust and continue to improve the data that's provided back to you, that drive a higher level of automation, and that automation needs to work for you, not against you, because that can often be the case. So what we're looking to do is to leverage the past and the present, and then get to the point where we can predict our analytics. So, you know, we understand past behavior, we understand the behavior in the environment today in order to get better insights, and we're constantly learning from what's happening. And then what that allows us to do, of course, is to provide real-time information of what's happening right now, and at the same time use that intelligence in order to predict what's going to happen in the future, so that you, as the monitoring party, are able to avoid issues before they come up and inflict damage in the environment. So as an example, you know, in terms of automation, being able to place and balance your workloads, you know, what we're looking to do is to enhance that using the recommendations and the actions that are suggested by the operations management capability in vSphere with operations management, you know, that help you to find better hosts and better clusters if the demands change or if the balance in the environment has changed, and then to proactively relocate those workloads based on the stress patterns in the environment. Unsurprisingly, given I work for VMware, I'm going to suggest that we are your partner for this transformative journey, but let me tell you why. So our approach is designed for your business, and it's designed for better insights and designed ultimately to deliver better IT. We built the industry standard when it came to virtualization. It is still by far the market leader with vSphere. And it helps you to do a range of things. It helps you deploy your own private data center, your private cloud, all the way through to deploying big data applications that we hear more and more about, consolidation of data centers, for example. Now, enhancing those benefits of the virtualization platform with consistent management that's purpose-built for virtual data centers allows you to deliver more value to your business from day one of moving from just plain virtualization. In terms of being designed for better insights, one of the things that's really important that we have to remember as a vendor of these software products is that your business is unique. Your virtualization and your management of that virtualization has to be designed to fit your needs. And that's why I harp on about and constantly stress the fact that we're talking about intelligent operations management that adapts to your environment and then continues to give you better insights that allow you to take proactive action in order to ensure the best operation of your environment. And to that end, we also leverage all types of IT data across a variety of different disciplines, an extensive list of third-party extensions to identify these issues proactively. And finally, in terms of designing better IT to provide this level of automation but give you the control over it, what we're looking at is to give you automated management with guided remediation. So you remain in control. And that control is fine-grained, so you can drill down to whatever level of detail you need to, or apply it at a macro level. And it allows you to set your policies and customize the actions within your data center. And that automation is built into the platform, both from the point of view of placing workloads and balancing those workloads across the infrastructure, and then enhancing that with capacity optimization and with planning to help you improve the use of resources in real time. So what we're talking about overall is being able to have consistent management, which allows you to deliver all kinds of applications from the traditional where we started with low-level tier 3 applications, file and print and what have you, up through OpenStack, SAP HANA type of in-memory database delivery, big data applications. We span the entire gamut of whatever application you're looking to run to make your business more efficient and more competitive without any compromise to performance. We deliver 30% more applications and services by optimizing that capacity and avoiding any unnecessary wastage of resources, unnecessary hardware purchases, and enhancing this basic virtualization starting point with consistent management that ensures the optimum health and risk and efficiency of your virtualized data center. On the intelligent operations side, literally going from apps through to the storage and allowing a more intelligent interface between the two. We deliver that with things like fault tolerance. We've introduced long-distance vMotion, introduced data protection into the core platform, and that ensures greater levels of uptime with minimum levels of complexity. And the management tools are self-learning, as I said, so they adapt to your environment, giving you better insights and more proactive capability. Predictive analytics looks out to the future, allows you to evaluate all of the data that is being generated in your environment to identify any issues that are coming through and then to remediate them, as I say, before they become a problem in the environment. And finally, in terms of automation with control, what we're looking at is how do you automate placement of workloads and then ensure that you balance those workloads over time to ensure the best usage of the resources that are available in your IT infrastructure. Going beyond pure sort of vSphere with operations management, I've put in a little advert for going further. vSphere with operations management, as is shown on the bottom left of the slide, comprises vSphere and vRealize Operations Standard Some of you may know that as vCenter operations. The product was renamed for a variety of different reasons. There is also the ability of, if you get to the point where you say, right, I've done this, where do I go next with it? How do I get more, even more detailed granular control? vRealize Operations Advanced and vRealize Log Insight, which allow you to analyze both structured and unstructured log data, are provided as a future pathway. So if you're on vSOM, vSphere Ops Management, you can then add vRealize Operations Insight on top. And what's important is that we do that on the same licensing metric. So the value of vSphere Operations Management is that you're not mixing buying vSphere on a per CPU basis with buying your ops management on a per OSI or a bundle of monitored VMs basis. It's all sold on a per CPU licensing metric to make it really simple for you to plan your environment. And we do exactly the same with vRealize Operations Insight. What I'd like to do is give you a few numbers before I dive into some details on the product itself. The kind of high-level numbers here are that we've done this research study twice so far. As you can see, this particular one, if you can read the small text at the bottom of the graphic, was done January last year. We did the same study a couple of years before that, and it was simply a case of looking at a bunch of users, those that had vSphere on its own, and those that had added operations management to be on vSphere Ops Management, and seeing what additional benefits were available. So the value of adding operations management on top of your vSphere investment is giving you, as I said in one of the earlier pieces, about 30% more visibility. But some key pieces is that you're seeing an over 53% reduction in IT costs compared with just vSphere on its own, a 54% decrease in downtime, which then, overall adds up to something like a 2.4 times return on investment. And that return on investment is really quick. What we found from talking to customers is that 4 out of 5 customers will see a return on the cost of deploying the ops management piece within 90 days. So within 1 quarter, the additional amount you spend on adding that ops management pays itself back in terms of the savings that you're able to make. There's a quote on the right-hand side. I'm not going to read through it, but we have a bunch of people. If you want some proof points of understanding, how and why, we've got a whole range of case studies that Matt and the other guys at SoftwareONE would be happy to share with you. So let's look at a few little details of what's in the product itself. So to start with, we talk about this is all built on VMware vSphere 6, which is a combination of the ESX hypervisor and vCenter server for the control and the administration thereof. A range of different quoted sources, but we still have somewhere in the region of 79% global market share for vSphere, despite the fact that there's increased competitive products out there. And that's simply because it just remains the best virtualization platform. So if you're a vSphere user today, thank you, and we hope you're getting full benefit from it. If you're not, please phone SoftwareONE immediately after this seminar. You can run all the different applications. I talked about that. So we are engineering the platform to support all the applications, whether you've deployed them yet or not. So rest assured that we're working to make sure the platform supports your needs today and going forward. A key feature of vSphere that helps you to scale your environment is a feature that we call Distributed Resource Scheduler, more commonly known as DRS. And what that does is it dynamically allocates and balances those virtual machines across your infrastructure in order to ensure that each of them gets optimal access to resources, and that none of them are grabbing resources that frankly should be reserved for more important applications, for example. The benefit of that is you get dynamic alignment of the resources to meet the goals that your business defines. It's increasing the efficiency of your IT infrastructure, and that then, of course, increases the efficiency of your sysadmins so that they are not spending as much time analyzing the environment. And also the other piece that is related to that is ever more important we help you to minimize power consumption using the feature called distributed power management that allows you to manage the power consumption in the environment. So, for example, weekends and evenings when fewer resources are required, you can automate the usage of resource pools. But moving away from the core platform, of the core virtualization platform, into the ops management capability, let's look at how vSphere with operations management delivers value to you. To start with, it's a really easy to interpret tool. It's very visual. So there's all the intelligent operation going on in the background, but in terms of consuming that operation info and consuming the information that it delivers to you and the recommendations, we've made that as simple and easy to use as possible. So it gives you this comprehensive visibility into three areas: the health, the risk, the efficiency. Health is looking at what's happening right now in the environment. So if you've got red blobs there, and we've generated plenty of them in this screenshot, you can literally double-click down and understand exactly what's going on, drill down into the environment, understand what where the issues are, and then take remedial actions. The middle column, the risk column, is looking at exactly the same thing, but looks at it over time. So where health tells you what's happening right now, this moment today, risk looks at it over the next, whatever period of time you wish to do so, 2, 3, 5 weeks, months, whatever, and allows you to then understand, based on your normal usage patterns, based on the predictive analytics, where are you going to face issues over time, where might you need to make changes, where might you need to add resource or change resource allocations. And it includes the ability to model what's going on. So, if you want to understand, say, for example, you've been asked to provision resources for a new project, you can use this to understand, if I add 10 new virtual machines, and this is the predicted usage, how soon am I going to run out of capacity? And it'll allow you to predict all of those kind of scenarios as well. And then the efficiency column is really where you can make cost savings and significant cost savings initially when you deploy, but also on an ongoing basis, because it looks at your environment and understands where virtual machines might be overstressed, where hosts might be overstressed, or network or storage resources, and equally where they're being underutilized, and allows you to then move workloads around and make best use of that particular functionality. So in terms of monitoring the health of the data center, as I said, you have the three columns. One of the things that's important to note is, if you look on the left-hand side of this particular screenshot, you can literally, go from monitoring a single virtual machine, and you can possibly read the text that says virtual mash, which is the first half of machine on the left. But you can literally drill down from a single virtual machine, or go upwards from virtual machine to a cluster, to a host, to a data center, to a global environment if you're monitoring that. So you can literally see your infrastructure at whatever level of detail you need to do so, and then drill down into each of the individual pieces. And customers are, tell us that's a really useful function that they find allows them to get different views depending on what they need to look at. So as I said, health looks at immediate problems, the risk column looks at issues over time, and of course the efficiency column looks at opportunities for you to optimize. In the sort of lower half of the screen, we've got what we call smart alerts. And what those smart alerts allow you to do is to understand what's happening. It tells you what's going on, and then allows you to remediate, taking action from that. So if, for example, we were double-clicking down into a particular situation, so we've got here, a number of different symptoms combined together to show what the issue is. In this case, it's a VM that is demanding more compute power than it has provisioned to it. What we can do is look down into that, what is it in our IT stack that's actually causing that problem? And in this case, it's fairly simple. We understand that the CPU demand is exceeding what we've given to it. Fairly simple remediation. But what we have here is the ability to look at that for any particular area of the environment. It's not limited to a badge. You can look at any object or any metric within the environment. You have a recommendations area. You can see, what the system recommends in order to resolve this issue. And then if you want to, you can just automate that remediation, or you can, if you have a different requirement, you can go change it manually, or change the application to a different location. There's a bunch of different things you can do. The point being that you've got really quick access to the information of what's going on. And what we've found talking to customers is that over time, what people have seen, and we've sort of measured this across a bunch of different customers, is that their time taken to remediate is reduced by something like 26%. So effectively, that's being able to find issues that much more quickly. If your job is to remediate, that's giving you a day back each week virtually. You can customize those alerts, so you can combine your analytics with symptoms and recommendations. You can add remediation actions either from vCenter, from our orchestration product, or you can script them yourselves using Python. And then, we're looking here at capacity analytics. So you have here the ability to understand exactly what's being used at what time, where in the environment, what's going on. How do you make savings, for example? Where have you got virtual machines that are overstressed? Where have you got virtual machines that are underutilized? And what we've found, again, going back to the research that we do with our customers, is that somewhere in the region of something like 80% of VMs tend to be over-provisioned. And there's good reason for that. In the past, somebody came along and wanted some resources. Well, the last thing you want is for them to come back and hassle you a few days later. So you give them a bit of extra CPU, a bit of extra memory, and it goes away. And that's fine, but the problem is over time that adds up to a lot of wasted capacity. So this tool allows you to rebalance that without affecting the performance of your infrastructure and, of course, therefore, of the applications that sit on top of it. That, of course, breaks down into granular metrics for compute, for memory, for the network. You can literally see down to the virtual NIC or physical infrastructure as to where there might be stresses in the network paths. And, of course, on storage itself. So, have you got storage that's full to capacity or more importantly, that is about to run out of capacity over time? Or have you got storage that's been provisioned and is inappropriate? So maybe you were in a rush and you provisioned an application on tier 1 storage, and it doesn't really need that kind of performance. So you can rebalance your storage infrastructure, and storage costs tend to be a very large chunk of IT infrastructure. So what I've done here is really try to give you a few screenshots from the tool, but it's very visual, as I say, and therefore I would encourage you to work with SoftwareONE to get more familiar with it, to get into it. So looking at what we're doing is how are we doing on providing that fuel for your transformation? So being able to match the speed of the business, being able to do so with consistent management, consistent automation for that virtual data center, for the infrastructure that's designed for whatever type of application and whatever way that application is constructed and architected and written, and being able to get proactive over time and understand what is happening in my environment, how can I make changes to be able to be more responsive to the business, to meet the SLAs they're looking for, and come back to being that strategic partner to the business. I'd like to change gear very briefly and step away from talking about operations management to just briefly introduce you to another area of our delivery of the software-defined data center, and then we'll pull this to a close. I talked about the fact that there are 3 ways of building infrastructure: build your own, which is what we've traditionally done, converged and hyper-converged. And the hyper-converged is delivered by automation of the software-defined storage product called VMware Virtual SAN, which at a simple level is a way of taking some of the storage that lives in your servers and is frequently or underutilized, most servers will ship with some level of disk included. We tend to install the OS or the hypervisor and forget about it. But what Virtual SAN does is it aggregates the disk that's included with the server, aggregates that together, and presents it back to the environment as shared storage, in effect as a virtual SAN, hence the highly innovative name for the product. What it does is provide you with a very cost-effective but high-performance capable option, and again, you have the ability to deliver that in 3 different ways. Either you build it yourself, so any server that's on the vSphere hardware compatibility list is automatically certified for virtual SAN. You need some flash for the acceleration of data. Obviously, you need some magnetic disk to store the store your data information on, and then you need RAID controller. And actually, without overcomplicating things, but we also have an all-flash option where you would use flash for the data as well, and that's for very high-performance environments. And as I say, you can either build it yourself or you can go for a virtual SAN ready node. There are a bunch of different partners of VMware's who are offering virtual SAN ready nodes, and again, SoftwareONE, I'm sure will be very happy to talk to you about that. And then finally, EvoRail, which is a hyper-converged appliance, so everything built into a very solid specification. You can't make changes to it. It's very much an appliance-based approach, but useful in certain use cases where you're trying to spin a cloud up quickly or perhaps for a DR location. And what this does is it heads, as I say, towards the concept of software-defined storage. So, if you're looking at storage at the server level, where the storage is included within the server, that's the virtual SAN approach. And we've done exactly the same thing of working with a range of our partners across the storage industry, so from HP and IBM and Fujitsu and NetApp and Hitachi and various others, through to some newer specialist providers, to adopt the same kind of approach where they enable their products to talk directly to the applications in exactly the same way, allowing this transition towards software-defined data center capabilities where we're virtualizing the storage. And what that then gives you is the ability for the application to talk directly to the storage layer and be able to understand and interpret the data that comes back. Makes for better provisioning, makes for faster changes, makes for more granular level controls. End of the little pitch on software-defined storage. Really what I'd like to do is just talk briefly about how you can learn more. Primarily amongst that, talk to SoftwareONE. They're a specialist in this area. They understand how to help you walk along the journey. As I say, it's very visual, so there's a whole range of tools that are available to you, product walkthroughs, hands-on labs, ask them for a demo, install a 60-day eval copy if you want to. All of these, and that's a fully functional eval. There's a whole range of different ways you can do that. There are YouTube videos that talk you through it. And if you like it printed, then, data sheets and white papers, you name it, we've produced it to make it easy for you to consume in whatever way you wish to. So what would I like you to do next? Really, what I'd like you to do is try out vSphere with operations management, do a hands-on lab, or run a 60-day trial. Or, with virtual SAN, there's a virtual SAN assessment tool that will give you some feeling for, what kind of performance will I get, what kind of savings could I make. But, really what you should do, talk to SoftwareONE, discuss a virtualization optimization assessment, discuss your infrastructure with them, and, see what your next step might be as you move towards a software-defined future. With that, I'll hand back to Matt, and it's over to you, Matt.
Thank you very much for that, Rory. That was a really good run through, so appreciate your time there. If there's any questions, I'm just going to unmute you all so that you can ask. I say that as the unmute all button does not want to work. So if you just want to pop any questions in the questions box, I'll happily get Rory to answer those for you. Otherwise, we will we will conclude the webinar. The recording will be available if you want to obviously rewatch it or share with any of your colleagues or contacts. And obviously you can contact myself or your account manager at SoftwareONE, and we'll help you obviously walk through the steps of answering questions, trials, etc., as discussed by Rory. So thank you all for your time. I've not seen any questions pop up in the box, which is absolutely fine. So we'll conclude the webinar there. And as I said, please do make contact if you want to do any of the follow-ups that we discussed or have any questions you want us to run past Rory. Thank you all for your time. Thanks again, Rory.